record on this computer. Present. There you go, sir.
All right. So yeah, owner-occupied investments with myself. What is an owner-occupied investment? It's a property that you purchase, live in, and also use as a rental, whether it's single bedrooms or whatever it may be. See you later. That can be a single-family house that you rent out rooms individually. It can also be a 2 to 4 unit property that you live in one of the units and rent out the other 1, 2, or 3 units to tenants.
Can it be more than 4 units?
No, because I mean it could theoretically, but you'd still have to go through commercial financing if it's above 4 units. So 2 to 4 units is the sweet spot where you can still get, normal residential financing on the property and still occupy one of the units. I guess you could live in like a 10 unit, but like I said, you're not going to get the benefits that I'll talk about in the next slide. Cool. So why would anyone want to owner occupy? It's a great way to start your investment portfolio. When you owner occupy a property, you have to live in it for a minimum of 1 year according to the lender requirements, and then you can turn it into a rental. So if you have an FHA loan or whatever type of loan program you have, if you're buying it as a primary residence, you have to live in that residence for 1 year, and then you can move on to the next one. So it's a good way to, say, put 10% down on an investment property, live in it for a year, and then when you move out, you can turn that into a rental property without having to put 25% down up front. And that kind of ties into my next point where you get better interest rate. So like I was talking about with Tanner, 2 to 4 unit, you can still get residential loan programs for them, and you can put as little as 3.5% down with a little bit lower interest rate, because typically commercial financing has a higher interest rate, or there's more points that you have to pay for up front, and it requires 25% down or more for a commercial loan. Whereas, like I said, with a residential loan program, you can put 3.5% down and still get into the property. Owner occupied, if there's a value add potential, especially the unit that you are living in, where you can work on it over that year that you're living there, and make that unit nicer, you can increase the value of the property as a whole. And I'll talk about that a little bit more on the next slide. Another benefit of owner occupying is if you have tenants paying you monthly rent revenue, it helps offset your expenses on a monthly basis. Like, for example, my wife and I have a duplex that we owner occupy, and $1,750 a month is coming in from the tenants, and so that helps cut down our loan payment pretty drastically. In some cases, you can actually have those other units and other tenants cover your entire expense and live for free or make money while you're still living in that property. And then it's another additional revenue stream. So when you're going to qualify for loans, I know they just changed it, but you can use the rental income as income for qualifying purposes. And if you have done this in the past and you have at least 1 year of landlord experience, you can use the new property that you're going to buy's revenue to qualify as income for your qualifying income as well. So here is what the unit that we live in looks like. Well, that's the other guy's furniture, but yep.
Before you head into this slide, so that rental income that you do receive, how does that get taxed when you're looking into buying a new?
I believe it's taxed as capital gains, but that's a great question for like a tax accountant. I know. So if you do have the 1 year experience now that they require, and you go to buy a new, let's say you're buying a 4-plex, each unit rents out for $1,000 a month, so that's $4,000 total for the property. But you're going to live in one of the units, so that's $3,000. You can use 75% of that as qualifying income to buy the property. So you'd be able to use whatever 75% of 3,000 is, which is
600.
I think it's 2,250. It is 2,250. But yeah, so I'm talking about value add because obviously this unit was completely renovated when we bought the place. there's not a whole lot we can do to increase the value of the unit we live in. I mean, it's fully renovated, so there's not a whole lot of room to improve that. But then if you look at our other unit, this is what it looked like in 2012. It actually it looked like this up until about 5 months ago. Very 1970s. It hadn't been renovated, hadn't really been touched. I think there's new blinds or something, but nothing crazy. Still looked like this in up until about the end of 2019. And then our tenants moved out, so my wife and I renovated the place. We put new flooring in, new paint, new fixtures, redid the bathroom, which isn't on here, but I'm just showing side by side. So, I mean, that's what it was up until about, like I said, 5 or 6 months ago, and then that's what it looks like now. We didn't do new cabinets or new countertops. We refinished the countertops. So, I mean, for a pretty affordable budget, I would say, doing it by ourselves, we increased the value of the property a pretty good amount just from some cosmetic updates.
So if you were to buy like a triplex and say 2 of them were updated and 1 of them wasn't, what would you recommend moving it into? Would you move into one of the updated ones or the not updated ones?
I would move into the not updated one, because you can do that while you live there, and also you'll be able to charge a higher monthly rental rate for updated units versus something that hasn't been updated. So I would recommend that. Our unit was vacant because the owner occupied it before we bought it, and so this one was already vacant, easy to move into. We didn't have to evict tenants or relocate tenants, so we just kind of moved our stuff in, and that was that. And then, like I said, once these tenants moved out, instead of just re-renting it in its current state, because honestly we couldn't, it was just trashed. We had to do some updates and renovate the property a little bit, and so we just decided to do a good renovation on it now, and then that way we can charge a higher rental rate, which, I mean, we increased the rental rate by $150 a month. So as we were just talking about before we started recording, that's a good chunk of value add to the property.
Is it about 30,000?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's why I highly recommend owner occupying, especially your first investment property, because you can start your portfolio with less money down originally, and then you can, when it comes time, you can use the income from these units that you owned in the past to qualify for more on the next property. A little quick summary: owner occupying is a great way to start investing. If you can find a value add situation where you can add value when you live there over time, that's going to reap the benefits in the long run, and it's less money down, and you get a better interest rate if you stay under 4 units when you're looking at these owner occupied investments. Any questions?
So when you're originally, say for Cervantes, for example, when you originally apply for a loan to buy that, you can use the potential rent for your income, technically, right? Your future rental income for your income.
Yeah. So it used to be that you didn't have to have any experience. Like when we bought this place in 2018, we were allowed to use 75% of the rental revenue from the current lease that was in place. But now they changed it, so you have to have 1 year of management experience, landlording, owner-occupied investing, whatever it may be, in order to use that revenue that's at the property to qualify. So now, like, if you were to buy a place now and you've never done it before, you have to qualify outright to buy it. But then going forward, you can use the property that you're looking at buying's revenue and qualifying up to 75% of that.
When did they make that?
Recent, it was like in the last 4 months.
Oh wow!
I think it was at the beginning of the year or something. But Liz mentioned that in her vendor spiel at our January 1 event. But yeah, that's owner occupying 101, and I'm happy to talk more with anyone about it.